Is that where we are? You said that the end result of karma-based desires is the feeling of passion. I said, what is passion? It is to be fixated on one thing, said Daji. Let us compare two words, passion and compassion. In passion, you are fixated on possessing the person who is the object of your desire. You are more concerned with your own satisfaction than with the other person's feelings. In compassion, on the other hand, you sacrifice yourself for the sake of the other. Passion leads to guilt, but in compassion, you become ennobled. You become joyful. Do you want to know how to attract grace? Be joyful. That is the prescription. What can grace achieve? A single downpour of grace can accomplish what a thousand transmission can never do, what a thousand blessings can never achieve. So be compassionate and be joyful. Be joyful, and grace will rain down upon you. When you are loving, caring, and compassionate with others, you are not trying to get anything from them. You do not manipulate others. You see, the reason that most people like to receive is because they feel incomplete. But though they receive, they will never feel complete. Wholeness comes only by giving, and the only real gift is of one's own self. So give of yourself. Then you will find that you receive much more than what you can ever possibly give. How to give all of this away? You will wonder. You cannot. You can only continue to give. Now, however, generosity of the heart does not mean only giving. It's not only about helping others. Real generosity is to accept others' opinions and differences without any vengeful feelings. Underline that. That's the examination question. Real generosity is to accept other people's opinions and differences without any vengeful feelings. You remember real gratitude? So, if they say, what is real generosity from heartfulness way, this is where you have to write it from. This brings us to dharma, which is the next category of desire. Actually, I do not feel that dharma should not have any connection with any desire. Dharma's literally meaning is that which upholds. That which upholds what? That which upholds righteousness. So that's the meaning of dharma. Dharma is that which upholds righteousness. And we are the ones who must uphold it. To wish for dharma is weakness. To pray for dharma is like praying that you don't rob someone's house. It's easy. Just don't do it. If you want dharma in your life, if you want truth and goodness and love, you must be the first one to uphold it. So that's the most important. Dharma is not to be prayed for. Dharma is not to be wished for. Dharma is to be upheld in the way that we act. If not you, then who else will uphold the dharma? So there is no use wishing for dharma. There is no use waiting for dharma. There is no use praying for dharma. You have to be its embodiment. This is dharma's dictate. Love all and hurt none. So that's the examination question. You should pray for dharma. You should wish for dharma. You should wait for dharma. You should uphold dharma. Which of the thing you have to select one? And then to make you confused, they'll say all of the above. Then if you have not very clearly read the book, you want to be generous because they said be generous with the answers. Then you will say all of the above. Right? This is what happens when we are not very clear about the concepts. We tend to become very generous. But that's true. Even otherwise, if you don't have clarity about some of the things you are doing in spirituality, you'll tend to be generous. See, you cannot eat more than what is necessary for your system. That is dharma. And if you like idli vada, you will have second round. Right? So you are being generous to yourself. Right? So Gopal Krishna has a lot of sweets. So he is being generous to himself. But then actually, if you go by strict definition of dharma, it goes against the tenets of dharma. Unnecessarily eating more than what is necessary, unnecessarily using things from nature more than what is necessary, all of them are actually against the tenets of dharma. Not using the right thing at the right time. Suppose somebody is actually doing something and you have to prevent and you have to use force. You have to do it. That is dharma. Not using the right thing at the right time is also against dharma. So the child is doing some mistake repeatedly, and you are not actually working to actually prevent that mistake being committed by the child. You are not teaching the child. You are just allowing the child to go on committing mistakes without trying to correct it. That is also against dharma. Because as a parent, it's your dharma to actually teach the child the correct things. If you don't do it, then you are going against dharma. So dharma is a very broad concept. And dharma, if you go by our ancient literature, it says that it is dharma which upholds everything, which holds everything in its place. Why does the earth does not fall from its axis? It's because it is held by dharma. Everything is in the all the three worlds. Everything is held by dharma. So that's why he says one of the formulas for leading life is dharma rakshati rakshataha. So if you are to uphold dharma, then the dharma will uphold you. So that's how powerful it is. Dharma is a manifestation of God, expression of God in terms of creation. That is dharma. Okay. Anyway, this is dharma's dictate. Love all but hurt none. So that's another question. What is dharma's dictate? So if you don't remember from here, you will write everything that comes to your mind. Dharma says that, Dharma says this. You will write a what do you say? A thesis on dharma. Because dharma is a word that we use so many times in so many contexts. It's also the heart's very nature. Underline that. Dharma is the heart's very nature. You see, we have to cultivate a heart based understanding of dharma. Too often, our sense of dharma is rooted in our ideologies. The heart's nature is universal, but ideologies are limited. Now, underline this. This also is question. What is the difference between heart based living versus ideology based living? The heart's nature is universal, but ideologies are limited. They are the results of our cultures, of our religions, and so many things. These varying ideologies give rise to differences, dislike, and even hatred. Such suppression impressions take hold at point C, where they petrify you into prejudices which Babuji described as the enemy of spirituality. So that's another question for exam. What is the enemy of spirituality? Prejudice. So there are many questions like this. They'll just pick up one sentence and give you. So until you are thorough in terms of your reading and understanding, you will miss it out. There are people who read 8 to 10 times. It's not about how many times you read. The question is how thoroughly you read. That is what matters for the exam. Okay. So it's like taking the same example of eating. It's not how many times you eat. It's how thoroughly you eat when you eat. That is what matters. So Bharat is thinking about how I should change my eating. Bharat has a totally different look, no? After he has put that background, it's almost like he's coming from a different planet, descending from a different planet. Unlike in the past, where he used to be very bright, now you can see that glow in the back, like the Buddha. But Buddha had a different kind of a glow. Our Bharat has a different kind of a glow. It's much more broader and it's colorful also. Buddha is never shown with different colors. You see, he is never shown with green color. Have you ever seen a Buddha with green color in the background? So that's why Bharat wants to be different. If Buddha has that color, this will be my color, green color in the background. In the Indian tradition, divine personalities known as avatars are thought to descend in order to restore dharma in times of intense degradation. Should such a thing really be necessary? Upholding dharma is always something that we would rather thrust into someone else's shoulders. If we had done our duty to uphold on our own without expecting the Lord to descend, we would have saved him a lot of trouble. So, since we don't uphold the dharma, then avatars have to come to uphold the dharma. That famous shloka is there, no? Yada yada hi dharmasya. So, that is what he is talking about now. And why we don't uphold dharma? It is not as if we are punished. Rather, we punish ourselves. We bear that burden of guilt. Guilt has a special location in the human frame, which we spoke about earlier. It sinks to point D. So when do we feel guilty? When we don't uphold the dharma, we develop guilt. When we uphold the dharma, we don't develop guilt at all. When we don't uphold the dharma, we feel guilty, and that guilty feeling settles at point D, where it weighs us down. Our hearts close and our spiritual expansion is arrested. So we must avoid doing anything that will make us feel guilty. There is no external moral authority. The conscience is the only real judge. But the conscience is also stricter than any other external judge. It has the power to punish us far more severely. So, Babaji has written certain things about conscience, how people talk about them following their conscience, but really they'll be following their impure mind. So, conscience is something that develops after a long time. It's not a small thing to develop. So many people who claim to follow the conscience actually will be following their own impure mind. So one of the homeworks that I gave to the English people, the English candidates, is what's the difference between conscience and consciousness? Okay, the relationship between conscience and consciousness. Okay, so that's the last one. So when do we form guilty samskaras? When we don't uphold the dharma, when we don't do the right thing that we are supposed to do, then we feel guilty. Then we suppress it, and that goes. Guilt is the heaviest of the samskaras. It goes and settles down at point D. The last desire is the moksha. It is the next category of desire for which people strive and pray. In India's religious traditions, moksha generally refers to the state of liberation from the cycle of death and rebirth, but it's often hailed as the highest goal of life. In fact, moksha is a comparatively minor achievement. There is much more beyond it. Compare the wish for moksha to an emancipated existence in the realm of liberated souls to the wish to be financially independent, a carefree worldly existence. Are the two wishes so different from one another? In both cases, you seek freedom. A freedom from that comes with the change in your circumstance. Underline that. Moksha is a freedom that comes with a change in your circumstance. Now that can happen in any realm. When we become knowledgeable, we become free from ignorance. When we become more enriched with money, we become free from poverty. So, in different realms, we become different things. So, we get a certain degree of freedom. So, we talked about five freedoms: freedom from physical bondage, freedom from mental bondage, freedom from energy bondage, freedom from social ill health, freedom from financial bondage. So you freedom from finance, so spiritual bondage. You can have bondage at any level. So seeking freedom at any level is still part of our growth. That's why we say that we actually grow in multiple dimensions. Our growth is a multi-dimensional growth. It's not a growth in single dimension. You remember that we read about it. We are expanding infinitely in infinity. We are not expanding infinitely in one dimension or two dimensions. So when we say wholesome growth, we are expanding infinitely in infinite dimensions. So the desire for material wealth and the desire for spiritual liberation are similar, I asked. They both create vibrations at point A. Underline that. So seeking liberation creates vibrations at dash point. Or they'll say uh, seeking liberation creates vibrations at point A. True or false? And most of the people think liberation is not something to do with materiality. So they'll say no, it's false. Okay. So these are all the googlies that is there in the book. So and they all play around with the googlies. I don't know what happened to the match yesterday. Got washed off.
Yeah, India lost the match.
Sorry.
India lost. England won the match.
Good. I thought so. That's what will happen because they had not hit enough runs in the second innings. 350 in that last day on that pitch was not enough. You should have hit at least 450 for you to be safe. So it's all fixed, like the war in Iran. Before Trump put the bomb, he told Iran, I'm going to come and put the bomb on such and such a date. So Iran removed everything. Before Iran put the missiles on the US base, they informed the US, tomorrow morning at this time we are going to fire the missiles. So they all were in safe shelters, aram se. So it's a fixed match. So everyone made sure that everyone feels satisfied with their ego, nobody is hurt. So just like that. The match is like that. So especially cricket matches, the whole series will be fixed. So not to worry, don't take anything seriously in life, especially cricket matches. Okay. Thus, the desire for liberation is counterproductive. It weighs us down rather than lightening our heavy load. The desire for moksha represents an escapist urge based upon our negative experience in the world. So, this is another thing. The desire for moksha represents an escapist urge based on our negative experience of life. For example, if you eat at a restaurant and the food upsets your stomach, you will probably never want to go there again. Similarly, when we get fed up with the world, we start to become averse to it. Then you are like a prisoner who wants to break free from his cell. It is not a positive aspiration. So liberation can have positive and negative connotation. When you have a negative connotation, it's a aversion that we have developed. It's not a positive aspiration. We also pray for moksha because we think that this liberated state will free us from our slavery to the other three categories of desires. So when we get liberated, we feel that we are free from the bondage of the dharma, artha, and kama. It doesn't. There are many people amongst us who have already qualified for liberation, yet they still hanker after artha, kama, and dharma. And they also pray for them. Wouldn't it be better to pray for contentment? But if you meditate, why would you need to pray for contentment? It comes by itself. So that's the importance of meditation. So when you seek liberation to escape or to get out of the artha, dharma, and kama, then that is not going to be helpful. That's not the reason why you should actually seek liberation. So you, rather than pray for something, pray for contentment, you do something where contentment comes automatically, and that's why you meditate. When you are content, you are already a saint, and you have no desire for dharma, kama, artha, or moksha. Then what will you pray for? Taji first. Whereas you pray for yourself till now, you now start praying for others. Underline. When you become content, only then you become enabled to start praying for others. When you are not content, you will always be praying for yourself. When the contentment takes hold of your system, then you actually start developing that space to pray for others. So that's another question. At what stage do you actually start praying for others? What is the prerequisite? The prerequisite is contentment, development of contentment. And we see contentment in a different way. We see contentment by accumulating things. And then we see that, okay, if we have accumulated enough, then we are going to get contentment. So accumulation to fulfill a desire is not going to give you contentment because the boundary will keep changing. So many people amongst us, our professionals, they say we were more happy when we earned 10,000. We are now earning more lakhs, but we are not happy. We are not content. We want more and more lakhs now. So contentment does not come by accumulation. In fact, accumulation increases the desires. You want to accumulate more. So that sets up a momentum of its own. Contentment comes by giving up the desire. That's the right path to go towards contentment. Okay. Now, that doesn't mean to say that you give up the legitimate desires that actually helps you go towards your goal in spirituality. No, that fulfillment of legitimate desires is also part of the contentment. Does it make sense? For example, you have to upkeep your body, you have to upkeep your mind, you have to upkeep your family, the duties of the family, the duties you have to the world. For that, you need to have some amount of, you will have desires to fulfill those things. You need to look at your own livelihood, right? Now, you cannot say that I want to shed everything or leave everything and go and roam around. And if you were to do that, you've already seen the example of Daji what happened. You will roam around for 6 to 8 hours or 12 hours and then come back home and tell your mother, I'm hungry, please cook some nice food. Does it make sense? Daji writes one sentence, no, that unlike Vivekananda, I did not have any message to give them. You will become a true person roaming around. See, now what is Daji doing? Going around on tours. When you have actually got hold of a message to give to the world, then your tours acquire a meaning. Otherwise, if you start going around the world without having that message or meaning, you will just be roaming around. It doesn't make you feel content. It doesn't make you spiritual. So spiritual journey is actually internal. Once you have actually done the internal journey, you will catch hold of a message. When you once you catch hold of the message and you then deliver it to other people, people are willing to listen because you are now the embodiment of the message that you are giving by your sadhana. People thought that roaming around itself is the sadhana, and that was the problem. When you go deeper into yourself and you become spiritual, you hit that realm where the nature says, this is the message that you have to give to the world. This is what your job is. Once you catch hold of that message, then nature is also with you. Wherever you go, nature is with you in order that you can actually deliver because you are acting on behalf of nature, not on your own. When you act on behalf of nature, nature actually is there to support you in your endeavor. It facilitates the work. That is what happens. And then you become a messenger of nature. You know, in many religions, there is this Messiah, the concept of Messiah. Messiah is the one who actually brings the message of nature and delivers us to the brighter world. That is called what is called as a Messiah. Quite a few religions have it. And then everyone is waiting for the last Messiah. Like we are waiting for the last avatar. Right? Now, we are happy to be the avatar that we are. We don't want to change any avatar. We want some other avatar to come and change us. See, that's what we do with dharma also. We want everybody else to uphold the dharma. I will not uphold, don't bother about me. Don't ask me. You do the dharma. And that's what we do to God also. You come and uphold the dharma. It's your dharma. It's not my dharma. If you look at Mahabharata, everyone was thinking that they are following dharma. Dharma has two components: dharma at a individual level, dharma at a universal level. So when we talk about dharma, we are talking about the dharma at the universal level, where you might need to go against the dharma at the individual level. In Mahabharata, except Krishna, who looks after dharma at the universal level, everyone looks after dharma at the individual level. Everyone claims that I am doing my dharma. They have caught hold of one thing, that they think that it is their dharma, and they are doing it. Each one thinks that they are doing dharma, but when none of them are actually doing. So this is an aspect I want to learn from Mahabharata. If you watch the Mahabharata episodes around before the onset of the war itself, so there is a lot of pondering before the war on which side we have to fight. What is the basis for our fight, and on which side we have to fight. And Krishna tries to meet the Karna and says, "This is not your dharma. You try to change him. He'll not listen." He says, "Duryodhana helped me in this life. My dharma is to dutifully fight for Duryodhana. That is my dharma. Forget about other dharma." They put individual dharma over the universal dharma. Okay, the Dronacharya is fighting, and then he's so fierce on that particular day of the fight before he dies that nobody can stop him. So Krishna says that somebody has to convince him that he is going to, his son has been killed. Then Krishna asks one question to Dharmaraya: "Are you ready to, what do you say, do something which is related to adharma for the sake of upholding the dharma? You have to do something which is adharma, but with the intention of upholding the dharma." Everyone refuses. Then Dharmaraya says that if that is the only way out of upholding the dharma, then I will tell that lie if necessary. And Dronacharya does not believe anyone. When everyone is shouting in the field, the battlefield, that your son has been killed, he doesn't believe. So he comes to Dharmaraya to check with him because he is absolutely sure that Dharmaraya will never tell a lie. And Dharmaraya intentionally never tells a lie. What happens is, what Krishna does is, there's a lot of these bangings that's going on, noise in the warfield. So when Dharmaraya utters that word, Ashwattama Hataha Kunjaraha, so he hears those two words. Drona hears those words, Ashwattama Hataha. But that Kunjaraha, when it is said, no, he creates so much noise that he is not able to hear. So the Drona now believes that his son has been killed. So he is so attached to his son. That's another thing to pick up. Every character in Mahabharata is attached to something or the other. And this attachment they think is their dharma. Each one is made themselves weak with that attachment. Everyone. Dhritarashtra is attached to his son. Arjuna is attached to his son. Dronacharya is attached to his son. Karna is attached to his friend. So everyone. Bhishma is attached to the kingdom. He is not ruling, but he is attached to the kingdom, saying that I have given a vow to my father that I will take care of Hastinapur. He sees everything falling right in front of his eyes, but he doesn't do anything, thinking that he is upholding the dharma. So each one interprets the dharma in their own way. And dharma is not that easy to interpret because until unless you have awareness of the universal aspect of the dharma, trying to interpret dharma from the individual aspect in the context of universality is always going to fail. So for you to correctly interpret the dharma, you need to be aligned to the universal aspect of the dharma, not the individual aspect. So that's why, although Dharmaraya has learned all the codes of the time, what is dharma, how to be implemented, and other things, In many situations of his life, he doesn't know what is the right path to take, how to uphold the dharma. He calls Krishna all the time to give him advice how to uphold the dharma. It's called as dharma sukshma. Dharma sukshma means the dharma is so subtle that individuals who are not aware to that universality of dharma will find it very difficult to interpret the correct uh, way of upholding the dharma. Does it make sense? So when you are in a dilemma, what to do, what not to do, that is called as dharma sankata. Dharma sankata means you don't know, you are in a dilemma, whether to go this way or that way. Dharma is righteousness. So if you are unsure which way to go to uphold righteousness, that is called as dharma sankata. Okay, so these two words you remember, dharma sankata and dharma sukshma. A person can easily uphold the dharma in the context of universality, not in the context of individuality. Then Duryodhana also will say, I was also listening to my heart. My heart was saying, beat your friend. Karna will say, beat your heart for your friend. It's okay to shed your life for the sake of your friend. That's what Karna did. Right? Dhritarashtra's heart will say, beat your heart for the sake of your son. Make sure that irrespective of what happens to the rest of the world, your son should be fine. That is your dharma as a father. So in other words, the third point to think about dharma is that we play many different roles in our life. We are the father, we are the friend, we are the brother, we are the uh, teacher. We have so many roles. Each role will dictate a particular dharma to be upheld. Then the next question comes, which dharma, which role to be upheld? Because we are all one, no? We are playing multiple roles at once. So then you are torn. Which role to uphold? That's another challenge. So that's why it's not as simple as that. Just given it very simply here. Listen to your heart. And I told you what the Dhritarashtra's heart was doing, what Karna's heart was doing. Each one thought that they were all listening to their heart. But none of them had actually learned the way of listening to the heart correctly. When you listen to the heart, you read that one sentence, no? Heart is universal in nature. So they all thought that they were listening to the heart, but they were listening to the mind. When you actually listen to the heart, you will always make a decision to uphold dharma in the way that is going to be good for everyone, not just for good for you. It might be actually detrimental for you, but you actually uphold the dharma in such a way that it's good for everyone. The larger good is what you take into context, not your individual good. Bharat immediately disappeared. Let me find out what is the larger good. I'll come back once I found out that larger good. You want to say something, Ganeshan?
Yeah, one question. So in most of our conversation, we use this word, it's my karma. That's why I'm like this. But one activity, what we are doing now is to transform ourselves better, to be a better being. But I don't see the role of karma in this. So how do we correct
When
it?
when you make a sankalpa that you want to make a better version of yourself, just by doing that, you are actually allowing yourself to get over the karma phala. You are no longer attached to the karma phala. No matter what you have done in the past, you are no longer identifying with the karma phala. You are neither identifying with the karma nor the karma phala. We might have done the worst thing. It doesn't matter. The moment we actually say that we want to become a better version of ourselves, we have got rid of the entire karma and karma phala. Now that's another thing that we have to get rid of as we grow spiritually. A person who is in the religious bounds, they'll always be bound to the papa punya, the dvandva of the papa and punya. A person who is in spirituality, he is now detached, or they don't strongly identify or attach themselves to the Papa and Punya, the concept of the Karma Phala. It is this sankalpa that you want to make a better version of yourself that is far more stronger than the karma phala or the karmas of the past or the effects of the karmas of the past. So the moment we make the sankalpa to become a better version of ourselves, at once we have actually detached from the karmas and the karma phalas. Now that doesn't mean to say that they don't have an influence on us. It does have an influence on us, but the sankalpa and the setting of the goal that we want to become a better version of ourselves will help us to overcome the force of the karma phala. There would be some karma phalas that we have to undergo the bhoga of, that we have to undergo. It's inevitable. But we will not be perturbed by that. We will be okay to undergo that in the context of this sankalpa that we want to become a better version of ourselves. Okay, so that's why making that initial sankalpa that I want to become a better version of myself goes a very long way in terms of helping us detach from the karma and the karma phala. That's very, very important. That is the reason why fixing the goal is uh, talked about very highly. When you are fixing the goal, you are now making a sankalpa to become a best version of yourself, not a better version, best version of yourself. When you want to become the best version of yourself, you have to detach from the karma and the karma phala. Just by making that sankalpa to become the best version of yourself, by setting the goal, you're actually unknowingly detaching yourself from the karma and the karma phala. The more stronger your alignment towards the goal, the more the detachment from these two things. The easier it becomes you, the journey will become. Okay? Suppose you have mother is cooking something in the house, you like the smell of it, and then you decide, I will wait for this thing to be cooked fully. You are feeling hungry. Now there are two forces which are pulling you. One is the hunger which is pulling you to make you to eat something immediately. And there is the other thing which is you are smelling, some nice smell is coming from the kitchen. I will keep myself hungry and I'll have more of this, whatever is being cooked in the kitchen. So when that force of weight is now stronger, you will not succumb to the immediate force of hunger trying to pull you to eat something. You will wait. Something very similar. The karma is making you to do certain things in a certain way now, but the goal that you have kept is making you to wait for that goal to manifest. Right? Then when that pull is strong, of course, like you smell, you need to taste the divinity within. Then you are happy to wait. If you don't taste any divinity within, you are happy with whatever I get. It's all right. I'll think about divinity later on. Let me just eat whatever comes to me now. Okay. So the pull of waiting when you are hungry, but at the same time waiting for something substantial, something worthwhile. Okay, that's what we do. So it's a very simple example on a day-to-day basis. I think our Bharat and Gopal Krishna are very much used to these examples on a day-to-day basis, right? Okay, I thought we'll finish 4 pages. How many pages we finished? Oh, only 1 and 2 pages, nothing much.
In our book, it's fifth page actually.
We're in the third page today, at last. Some progress.